Well, super. So tonight, if you guys aren't aware of the legend Vincent from Beezwax, he's going to be presenting his wonderful product to us. I'm going to try to do my best to moderate. I've used many of products. I think I used your 1.0 version many years ago. And then, of course, if anybody has any questions, I'll try to present those to Vincent along the way. But their firm's a well-known FileMaker consultancy headquartered out of Oakland and with developers all across the world. And they have this great tool that he'll demonstrate called InspectorPro that allows you to really analyze your database and really build fantastic products with it. I'll pepper in some questions along the way about competitor products and what we find out there and how we use it. And I'm really looking forward and very happy to see a lot of people. I know you guys travel a long ways here, and I'm very happy, Vincent, for you taking the time in your busy day to present your great product for the FileMaker community. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Vincent, and we'll try to make this as interactive as possible along the way.
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much. And for those of you who see me, hello there. I wish I could be in person. Thank you for taking the time and inviting me as well. I hope the audio is okay, Kevin, just because I put my headset on right now, so just confirm that.
Yeah, everything is great.
Okay, all right. So I think I wanted to quickly just get started with some slides here that I want to run through and kind of give you an overview or some history behind what we're doing. And so I've been working on this product for a long time, but it's grown in terms of a collaborative effort, and in this about kind of dialogue, you get a sense as to the different people who are involved. So kind of presented this talk in Europe last few months ago when I was in Europe. So if you remember what you had for lunch today, if you think about yesterday, it's a little bit harder. If you try and think about last month, last year, at this day, you would probably not remember. So point is that, you know, when you build a solution, if you have just a few elements and you started building it yesterday, you probably will know where everything is. But as time progresses, you really need something to help you kind of stay on top of things, especially if you're a professional developer. So one of the key guiding principles of what kind of inspires me to build this tool is I really want to make it useful for all of us. So at Beezwax, we have a lot of developers, and they're constantly giving me feedback, and I get a lot of feedback from people who have been using the product for a long time. So all kinds of things to make the usefulness of the product as useful as possible. So the other main focus has been, and this is a new direction for us, is collaboration. I don't know how many of you work towards kind of not just your own developer, your own self-developer, but you collaborate with another developer or you work in a team. So at Beezwax, we are kind of a larger kind of group of developers, and so we participate together on developing solutions. So with that spirit in mind, I wanted to inject that kind of enthusiasm or aspect to this to this direction of adding collaboration to this tool. So you'll see a pretty heavy focus or shift where we're going, and more to come along those lines in terms of collaboration. And so I'll talk a lot more about that. Performance is always one of our key benchmarks, and you'll see some slides in here where we continue to make strides in improving performance, and we're always kind of squeezing more water out of the rock. And just in comparison to other products that are out there, you'll see that there's a hefty amount of details.
Hey, Vincent?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be seeing slides?
Yeah, you're not seeing them?
I'm sorry. No, we're looking at you.
That? Are you seeing my slides now?
No. Let me.
Okay, hold on one second. No. Let's see here. I'm sharing my screen.
Oh,
I thought I was sharing my
slides.
screen. You see the slides?
Now we do.
Okay, if I go back into slide mode,
I see camera. Do
you
you want to
see
maybe?
the slides?
I see camera. I see your
You
webcam.
see. Okay, so I have to get out of slide mode.
On hide all webcams. There we go. You're good.
Okay, so what I'll just do is I won't use transition, or I won't go into the slide mode because I think that's going to affect what you see, right?
Okay, you want to try it one more time?
Okay, let me try one more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. I'm going to just hop through these anyway. I don't want to spend a lot of time on these. So are we still good?
Nope, not yet.
How about now?
We're good.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Sure.
And Kevin, if feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions pertaining to where I am.
That will not be a problem.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay, so in terms of usefulness, there's just some of the main areas where we get feedback. I guess one of the most common questions we often are asked is, I have a field, where is it used, or what is this item depending on? I have a script, where is it used, where is it referenced? So I think that's the number one question we get. And I think when you see the solution and how we present that, I think we do a good job of covering all the details of that. And so we'll take a look at that. The other second and most important question that people ask is, what are my problems and where are they? And so we've done a concerted effort in this release to denote not just what problems you might have, but if the problems are active or dormant. So should I be concerned? Is it a script step that is disabled and there's a problem with it? So there's a way to toggle that, and so you can see that you can have a view into the problems, whether they're active problems or dormant. We've redone a lot of the comparison, the way the comparison logic works. So now we're generating MD5 hashes, and we're generating them at the lowest level and then rolling them up all the way up to the analysis. And if you turn on that checkbox to generate MD5 hashes for comparisons, basically if you have one analysis and you compare it to another, you can immediately tell there's no processing involved. You can immediately see, are these the same or are they different? And as far down as moving a field like a couple of points over, it will tell you that these analyses are different just because of one little detail that's different. And that's very cool. There's a lot of details. It's a great user experience. The navigation is very easy to follow. So that's usefulness. Collaboration. We now have, I think we are the first and only, I believe, to offer this feature where you can, I think base elements also can host it, but it's not optimized to run on the server, which is a big deal, which is a big difference. Which means that if you host Inspector on your FileMaker server, what will happen is when you process a DDR, the DDR is taken from your computer and moved to the server, and then all the processing occurs on the server. So if you have a large DDR, it literally takes a few seconds to upload it to the server. You can close your laptop, go home. The rest of the processing takes over on the server. And I can tell you from having used it a number of times, just before kind of wrap up and go home for the day, I throw up 2 or 3 DDRs on the server and let it run. It's very addictive once you get used to it. Collaboration, we added notes. The notes carry over from analysis to analysis, meaning if I put a note on a field and I tell my other devs that this is the field where we're store the container for the Excel processing on the server, please don't remove it, or whatever. when they do another analysis, that note will carry over, and if they add notes, they just keep aggregating. So you can create multiple accounts so that other people can log in and also upload and process DDRs. Performance, again, we coined a new term. We call it, so you're in the community, you're familiar with PSOS. We coined a term called PDOS, Process DDR on Server. And we are the first to do that, and it's very, very cool. So we split up the processing. We have some basic processing that happens, and we have a lot of post-processing. And we're going to see even other improvements down the line in terms of performance. So there's a lot more coming in terms of performance. Let's see, insight and details. This is just kind of a very kind of just touching down on a few different areas, but just to show you the level of detail that we have, there's, in the current shipping version, there's about 30 some odd other additional data points that we capture. We've expanded that to over 120 in this version. So for example, I might want to look at, you know, every, let's see, layout destination and see the different types of layout destinations and see where they're referenced and how many of them do I use, different states. So it's when we get into it, I'll show you what I mean by the amount of detail that's there. So any questions so far?
Nope. I think we're just all hungry for a demo.
Okay, all right. So just quickly, the evolution of version 3 to version 6. Version 3 and 4 were not fully threaded. We became 64-bit in version 5 and 6. And so when it processes a DDR, it really, really pounds your CPU. So,
Hey, Vincent?
Yeah.
Are the slides supposed to change?
Yes, sir. Are they not changing? You're not seeing my screen?
We've been on, I think it's slide 1, usefulness, collaboration, performance, insight, and details.
You know what? Let me turn off my camera. I think the camera's affecting something.
Okay.
People can see you. Hold on one second.
I see fully threaded now.
Oh, yeah, okay. So there you go. Maybe the camera was, there was something going on with my camera. I don't know what happened.
I can still see you. Can you change slides? Go back?
I'll go to this one.
Nope. Still on fully
Nope.
threaded. And
Still on fully threaded.
We actually see the thumbnails of the slides too.
Oh, okay. Let's do something else. Let me stop my webcam.
Okay.
Okay. So is that better? I'm changing slides right now.
Still the same slide, no webcam.
Oh, what is going on with the screen sharing here? Let me see. Show my main screen. Okay, show my screen. Let me stop sharing my screen. Do you see my screen now?
We do. It says insight and details.
Yes, okay. And then the next slide. Do you see the next slide?
We do.
Okay, so that's all right. I don't know what happened with the slides not updating properly. Now, you see this other screenshot, this other slide?
Yep, it moved.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so just to give you the history, now I'm looking at a different slide with bar charts.
Yep. We're good.
All right. So Inspector has a dependency table. About 80% of all the work that it does is in the dependency table. In version 3, we had 135 fields in that table. In version 4, we dropped it to 88, then 37, now 28. We keep finding ways to make it tighter, smaller, and by doing so and having fewer indexes, we see a dramatic performance improvement if you look at over time from version 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, and we have some exciting plans for the next release as well. So things are
Did you
still
hear
on the
everybody
road.
clapping, Vincent? The whole room was.
No,
Oh, they were clapping.
cool. Very cool. Thank you. All right. Anyway, so just this one last comment on the slide here is that in version 3, we processed 144 XSL files. In version 6, we're processing way more than that, 443, and we are, a number of times faster than the original version 3. So a lot of hard work has gone into little fine details that makes a big difference in the end, because again, the dependency table is the main source of activity, and so we spend a lot of time there. Okay, so let's switch to demo here. I took the file, the quick start file, and I opened that up. Let's see here. Where is it? Why is it not showing me where it is? Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So can everybody see the inspector screen now? Are we good?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So basically, what's different is the dashboard is different. We've broken things out into the basic areas are here, listed here. So I have scripts, accounts, fields, etc. We have a list of solutions. So when you can create different solutions for different projects you work on, you can decide type if you want that solution to be private. If you're one of the people using this on a network, your solution will be private. Once you've created a solution, you can have as many DDRs that you want to run through this. So over here, I have 2 analyses of that quick start file, and so basically, we've broken it out into active, unreferenced, and all the items here. So this is a different approach than what we had before. So if you're familiar with the UI we had before, we had all these areas and different kinds of views on this screen, and you could drill into the item. You can still drill into these areas. So for example, if I want to go look at scripts, I could click on the 108 number here, and I'm looking at all the scripts in the solution. So here's a script here. And hold on one second. You have at a very cursory glance the list of scripts here. It's what database. It's summarized by database. You have a list of scripts that are in that database. You then have a few items here: grant with full access, include within menu, and then Mac, Windows, server compatibility, iOS compatibility, custom web publishing, and WebDirect. And so what these are showing me is that this script has some steps in it that are not server compatible. I could go, and if I wanted to look at the steps in that script, I could click on the steps here, and I can see all the steps. And over here, you'll see that this step is not a server compatible script step. And there you have the full list of steps in that script. You'll see that they're color-coded, they're nested, etc. If I wanted to, I could go back by clicking the backward and forward navigation icons up here. If I wanted to, I could copy this script to the clipboard, and I could share it with my peers. So just paste that in there, and now I've copied the entire steps of a script, including some header information about what database it's in, what the script ID is, the name of the script, etc. So if you wanted to share some code or talk to someone about some aspect of a script, you could do that. Yeah, again, so you have the script steps here. You have what group it belongs to. We have this thing that we're doing, which is kind of a security perspective, which is really handy. So instead of drilling into different privilege sets to look at the access that each privilege set has for this particular item, I could just click on this little shield, and it will gather up all the different levels of access by privilege set and tell me whether or not it's modifiable or executable, etc. So that's really, really handy when you're troubleshooting security. You could also pick a particular privilege set and overlay it across all the scripts, so you could look and focus on different privilege sets. So that's really handy. That's kind of like a hidden little feature right here. The other thing that we did that's new is we used to have percent of comments, percent white space. We added this percent disabled. So for example, in the code that you've provided me, there are, I think, none of your scripts that have any commented steps that are disabled. So all your code is in very good shape here. So, but otherwise, you would see a percentage here, and it would indicate that some of the steps in the script are actually disabled. And then the last two columns here are dependencies and references. So you have what the script depends on. So there's a script step, sorry, in this case, yeah, script. The script dependencies, but the furthest one is the one that's the most commonly asked questions. So for example, let's say this script here, I want to know where it's referenced. I can click there, and it can see all these places where that script is being referenced. It looks like it's a script trigger on a number of fields. If I look at this other one, I'll see all the places where that script is referenced. And if it's a script, for example, like in this case, this script here is being called by another script, and it's at a particular step number, I could click here to navigate to it, and it will take me right to that place where that script is referenced. What's cool about this is we used to have this as a popover before and a tearaway window. Now we only have this tearaway window. What's nice is if you need to dive into all the places where something is referenced, you can keep this window open and always drill into these other areas where an item might be referenced to go see where it is. So that's very handy. And just for consistency's sake, if you go to layouts, you'll see that we also have a column of references. So if I wanted to see this layout and all the references to it, I could see all the references to that particular layout. So the consistency in terms of what am I looking at, what is the item that I have selected, and then how many references of the item. So the reference column here is always in the same place, and if you don't have a reference for a particular item, for example, this separator layout, for example, there's 0 references of it. That kind of gives you an indication that object is not referenced. However, brings up a good point, which is, what if I use indirection, like go to layout name by calculation, or go to layout by number by calculation? So there is a way to get at that information, and I wanted to bring this item into view, which is this other all these other areas that we cover, and we normalize to gather information for you. So what I was describing before is before we just had about 30 of these. Now we have like around 120 of them. And for example, layout destination, as I was mentioning before, if I click on it, I'm using, so if you see here, it says 3 and then 130. What it tells me is out of the different layout destination types, go to layout name by calculation, go to layout number by calculation, go to current layout. I'm using only 3 of them, and I'm using 130 references combined across all 3. So if I wanted to see all the, like for example, go to original layout, I use that on this script, and it's at step number 30. If I click here, it'll take me right to there, and it'll show me that that item is indeed referenced at that location. And so this is also a tearaway window, and like many of these are tearaway windows, so row, page, location, et cetera, et cetera. If I ever wanted to go to next, let's see, go to next record, let's see, is that row, page, location, or go to next, and then look at and see if I'm using exit after last or those kinds of things. I could keep this window open and drill across all these different areas to go correct that. Any questions so far about references, navigation, anything like that?
Sure. Go ahead, Ian. The go to layout by destination. Did it have go to related record in it? Yeah, GTRR.
Go to related records. Okay, let me take a look here. Let's see. Layout destination. Go to by selected layout, go to correct. No, it does not, but I think that one, if I remember correctly, that might be by a selected layout. If I remember, do you, let's see. Go to related records. Oh, we could look at it. We could look at it by script step too. So let's see if here we have steps, and so we have all the steps. And so go to related record here. So I should look that up because I believe I might have done it, but it's in one of these other views, and I can't remember where it is right now. So let's see. Layout. Okay, I'll have to circle back on that, and but you do have it here. Go to related record, all the references of that step. So go to related record using layout. Okay, but if that layout is being referenced by this step, it would show up in the layout references if it's being targeted by that. So one way or another, it's going to be picked up by the reference itself. Apologize for not being able to answer that thoroughly. I will look that up and get back to you. Any other questions?
Anybody have any other questions? I could ask you a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk broadly about how I use these tools, and most of the time when I start conversations with people, I like to lead them by I'm not a normal person. So once we all agree upon that, we can have an open conversation. When I use these tools, I'm not as much of a developer as our team. I'm using them more on the front end of prospects, and just trying to see how maddening or how simple their solution is. And there's a handful of ultimately processes that we go through internally to try to shape up a system. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is, you know, solutions that if you start changing the names of certain elements, they break. I'm sure you're very familiar with that topic, right?
Yeah.
So we have built over the course of time an internal document that says, hey, when you're basically you know, maybe consolidating a system or renaming the relationship graph or doing things that ultimately change the schema, table names, TOs, you get the idea. Make sure to identify all indirections. Is there any kind of magic indirection report?
No, I mean there isn't necessarily a magic indirection report, but
I would have been
like
sold. You could have had all my money.
Yeah, well, I'll work on it. But you know, like for layouts, like we were talking about layouts. So layouts can be by indirection, by calculation by name, or by calculation by number. And so like if you knew how to you know, kind of dig into here, and you're looking at this and you say, you know, this layout, well, it's a bad example. Let's see, this one here, this address layout, it's not referenced anywhere. Can I delete it? Well, yeah, but let's see if you're using any indirection for layouts, right? So one of the ideas was to kind of give you a confidence factor on this, you know, like, yeah, it's 0 references of it. So you could possibly delete it, but you know, there's other touch points where you could be using the XML API, for example, and you're referencing that layout from that point of view. So yes, you could, you know, it gives you a comprehensive view of the solution in terms of one aspect of architecture being like the clients that are built with FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Go or that kind of thing, or even to some degree WebDirect. But with other, you know, access points, if you had a PHP or if you had, you know, like I said, the XML API that you were referencing that layout, you wouldn't know that. So you'd have to know a little bit something of the solution or a lot about the solution to understand that, hey, you know, we can't delete that layout because it's being referenced by some XML API.
Well, it's more Vincent. You know, you're absolutely correct with the deletion part. We definitely don't go in there and ninja a solution apart. You know, the layouts are probably the most challenging of all to delete with confidence, or one of the more challenging. Script's a little bit more higher confidence level, but typically, you know, my point when I'm thinking about indirection, FileMaker is such a contextual tool, and the graph is really where the context lies for most of the app. The layouts are associated with it, the portals are associated with it, and so forth. So we find ourselves basically shaping up these solutions because we have to go into the relationship graph. We have to rename the TOs, and if you do that, your execute SQL statements have all been broken because the developer didn't basically wrap them in the proper functions. So we don't really see a lot, even though you had a valid example of XML and other areas. We commonly see the issues lie in, you know, go to layout name, right? Where if you change the layout or something related to the table occurrences or the relationship graph. Is there a couple examples anybody wants to think of, like on the relationship graph, that, you know, is more common examples of if you rename it, you are, I know SQL's a real common one, execute SQL.
You could use set field by name, and so you could have a field that you have no references to, and so, you know, you could use evaluate. So in those contexts, if you as a developer know that these are the kind of the places where things could break, well, you could look to those areas. So
right. We do.
You know,
we
Yeah.
have them documented. I just didn't know if there was kind of a, that to me is a killer feature from a consultant standpoint of inheriting solutions and seeing the how fragile a system is when you inherit it. It would be the fragile report, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. That
It's really,
I'll see
it's really
what I can
interesting.
do.
But I know that's
Yeah.
one super. I mean, we have a a wiki essentially that highlights every single thing you need to search before you go about doing this. And not all systems are equal. I'm sure you know that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
A couple of things I wanted to mention as well is in the past we tried to there's a lot of information on fields, there's a lot of information on layout objects, and there's just not enough room to present all the details. And we're doing some really exciting things in the coming release that's coming up to even improve getting at the data faster, etc. But one thing that we did in this release is we separated them out into different views. So if general field information. If I want to look at auto enter information, I'm looking at auto enter information. So it's an overlay that is different when you look at the different areas. So the fields are still there, the base table, the table it's in, etc. So I could search on a field and then just quickly scoot over and go look at validation options for that field, or container storage, whatnot. So we split things out into these different areas, and this is apparent in some of the views. Like if we go to layouts, if I look at styles, I can see all the styling information for each layout summarized at the layout level. So for example, just taking a quick look at this layout, I can tell that a fair use of theme styles, a good use of theme styles here. This layout, however, here, this invoice layout has 10% of the objects on it, 94.5 bytes of data roughly. So there's there's 40 objects, so there's just a couple of the objects don't. Sorry, I made a mistake here. This is custom conditional formatting. These objects here, the layout local styled objects. So there's 6 of the objects that are on your layout that are locally styled, and if you wanted to zero in on those, you could click on this 6 and go look at those objects, and give them a style. So they've been locally styled. And this little star here indicates that value is at a fractional location, which if you know when you have objects and you place them at the interval that where you say I want to align them equally, whatever, when it can't do the math and into whole integers, what you end up with is a fractional location, and sometimes it can cause those objects to render in a kind of a blurry way. So we note that with this little indicator. If we go back to layouts and we go look at let's say this layout that has a lot of objects on it, you'll see these up and down arrows. Let's see if I can find something here I wanted to point out. Oh yeah, so this is telling me that the object is in the gray zone. This object is off to the right. I have these up and down arrows, and what these up and down arrows tell me that I have dependencies and parents. So for example, I could click on this tab panel, and it would isolate all the items that are within that tab panel. So I can focus in on things that are within the tab panel. If I click on the upward object, it should navigate me back to the parent. I'm not sure why that didn't work. Let's go back. Okay, so let's see here. Tab panel. There it is. So it takes me back to the tab control and highlights all the items in yellow that are within that tab control. So it's handy when you're looking to find hierarchies of things. Yeah, so that's the way we deal with the amount of detail that there is on all some of these areas. So we break it out into different areas. The other cool thing about Inspector is that we normalize all the calculations into one table. So if you ever wanted to search across all calculations, you could just basically go to all calculations, and you could see the calculation details for a particular item, and you could search in here for any calculation string that you wanted to search on, and you could do it in one of two ways. You could either just across the entire solution, you could pop into find mode and say, find me every instance of let's say, and you could do that. Another way to do it would be to narrow into specific types of fields. Let's say I wanted to look at all my my calculation fields, and I wanted to see only those calculations. So now I could search in here and constrain the search to search only within this group of calculations. In terms of looking for things in calculations, I think it's one thing to drill into a calculation and do a search in it, but that's a little bit heavy-handed, because what we do also is we've normalized all the bits and pieces of the calculation. So we know that this calculation depends on different pieces. So if you were to go to let's say native functions and look for that particular native function, let's say let's see here, let's say case. I have 145 references of case, right? Or the let statement. I could click on here, and I would get every single every single place where we use let. And in this case, so there's some script steps, tells you the step number, etc. So again, I could click on here, and it would take me to the step, and somewhere in that calculation is a let statement. Let, there it is right there. Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to search it, although it is possible to go in there and search. So, but we normalize all the bits and pieces of it. So if a field were referenced in a calculation, again, like if we go look at fields and we go pick out, let's see here, one that's got a lot of references, maybe this one. So there's this field, product description. It's used in these steps. It's on these layout objects. It's in a group button, step calculation, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of detail in this in how it's architected. Any questions about searching?
Yeah, Vincent, I got a couple other questions if you don't mind. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, I'll pepper away. One of the more common challenges that sometimes we face using these tools is when we import the DDRs, it fails. We get some error, or ultimately we can't process it. Are you familiar with that, and how would you compare your product to the others in regards to handling those?
Okay, so a couple of things that have happened over the years. FileMaker has added like some, the ability for you to name styles, or added the ability to now import like SVG images, etc. And when they do that, they bring in you can name the style whatever you like. And in the past, what happened was, let's say you named the style my greater than style, and you had the the angle, the greater than symbol. When they would generate the DDR, they did not sanity check that name of style. So it went right out to the output as my greater than style, and basically invalidated the XML. They ended up fixing that. I think that was introduced in whenever we got styles, and then it got fixed in the next release. But they then did the same thing when they introduced SVG images. So they
The
malformed the XML.
the the,
And
the scenario that I'm thinking,
mhm.
I haven't heard of that one, but is sometimes the scenario that we run across is, at least this is what I've been told, is there's like a high ASCII character sitting somewhere in the XML, or there's a corruption in the FileMaker database itself. One that I was recently advised about had to do with layout folders, and if you just delete the layout folders, and it would fix it, or you could recover the file, and it would fix it. Are you familiar with any other scenarios, or have you, has any attention been brought in this tool to identify those problems, but mask it from us end users and allow it to still work?
Yeah, so some work has been done in this tool, and what we do is we do invalid character searches, and if we find invalid characters, we zap them, we correct them, and then we can continue processing. If it's malformed XML, there's nothing we can do. No
Right.
parser will parse it.
Right.
So we are looking to at least give warnings, and we were doing a better job in 5.5 than we did in 6, and so we have to kind of make sure that that gets improved in the next update. But it will tell you that, hey, this is malformed XML, and it will isolate the line number, but sometimes even that isn't totally accurate. But it will help you hone in on the fact that you have something going wrong there. So we do pre-processing to help thwart that from kind of becoming a showstopper. However, again, if it's malformed, nothing we can do about it.
Right.
There was another issue that I don't know if you're aware of, and if you're on the Windows platform, it probably is more prevalent. But I think in 14, when you had a script step and it had a print command, the stream of data that was stored in the script step was huge. It could be megabytes of data. And so we're showing this platform data here. If you go into here in the steps, you'll see that this is a print setup, and there's 8.1 kilobytes of data stored with that print setup. In some cases, that could be megabytes of data, and I don't know if they have corrected it or not. I am still looking into that, but that has posed a problem because of the large element size of the data in XML, and there has to be a special flag for the parser to be able to parse things that have those large blobs, and when they're not contained within a CData block. So anyway,
Let me
go ahead.
let me carry it off. That's an interesting. I had no idea. Let me ask a follow-up question to that. Because as I mentioned, I work a lot on the front end, so I see all these really crazy, wicked systems, and so you're hearing me and my struggles of they can't get the DDR in there, right? Because something's corrupted. And then ultimately, when we do get it in there, I'm trying to figure out how difficult it would be to manage this system. The other thing that I struggle with heavily, Vincent, is there's 3 customers, right, or should I say opportunities I'm talking to right now, and they have existing systems, and they sent over their files to look at, and some of the files are missing, and you start running the XMLs from FileMaker, right, and it tells you that, and then you bring them in there, and you ultimately, you're going to have a lot of broken things revolving around that file. I noticed that you, at the very beginning, when you showed at the start, it's like a project and then multiple XML files, so you can see like a diff almost.
Yeah. So if for example I shipped this version and then I made some changes, if I wanted to, I didn't talk about comparison, but I want to compare, the current versus the before. I can compare to analysis number 1. So I'm on analysis number 2. I can compare to analysis number 1. Immediately, these areas tell me that changes have occurred. Now, I took your file and I went ahead and did what you probably never do, which is just delete things willy-nilly without consulting, where it's referenced or whatnot. And I generated a bunch of problems. As you can see, I introduced a bunch of problems. But just to give you a sense of the comparison report, there's 2 views of the report. One is a view by type, and so additions for fields and scripts, modifications. So I have different things I modified, and then deletions. I can go and view the same report by area, and I could see like, okay, in base tables, what have I done? Some changes happened here, some custom function changes, et cetera, et cetera. So you have 2 ways of getting at the data that have had changes. So you can kind of drill in there and see, let's say you leave it with a client and they tell you that they didn't touch anything and they broke something. You could, the typical thing that people say, you could run a DDR when you leave it with them, and then you can run a DDR afterwards and see if they did make any changes. And if you do have changes, you could drill into here. And these ones here that show up with a delta, there are changes that have happened in that script. This is a new script that I added, so it shows up as a plus. If I click on the triangle, I could copy the script again to the clipboard as to the changes, and I could see where the changes have occurred. I deleted a field, and this got introduced as a problem in the script. So
would that be of any use to people? I know that we internally, depending on the project, will create a log of changes that we need to port whenever we go live with the production system. So we may make a copy of it, do our development, get approval, right? And then they go, okay, it's time to go live. And maybe they have an in-house developer who's been making changes. And so we have to take the in-house solution and port our changes. I don't know if maybe that would be a useful tool or not, but I know that I don't think we have anything like that we use today. Does anybody use anything for diffs? I know there's, but I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. So I introduced some problems, as I mentioned. And if you click at the analysis level, you click on the problem icon, you get all the list of problems. And what's improved in this release is, we now have exactly where the problem is and what the problem is, as opposed to before it was like, oh, we show you that there's a problem, but you have to go and dig into the item to see what the problem is. So we do a better job of explaining what the problem is. If I go look there, you'll see that there's a field that's missing in that sort that was deleted from my kind of hacking away at it. So anyway, and then the other thing is that we also allow you to kind of mark the problem as, I fixed it. So if you're working with a team, and then you're working through the copy, you can kind of knock these out and then see as they get fixed along the way. So Any questions about problems, that kind of thing?
Yeah, you answered the one I was going to ask, which is, can you make sure, how do you go about saying I completed the task or fixed it, and it's clicking on the icon? Is that accurate?
Yeah. So basically, clicking on the icon gives you a popover to type a message, and then
Gotcha.
and the market is fixed.
Do you have Vincent? Do you have any metrics as to your product versus the competitors in regards to speed? I know you said you're doing POSOS, which I heard someone at the Wedge call PSOS. That's a new one.
Yeah,
Um,
PSOS. We
yeah,
we call it PDOS, process DDR on server. I can show you what that looks like. If
yeah.
you
I
want to
mean,
see it real quick.
of course, that's a killer feature. Um, I don't think we as a team, and I'm just speaking for our team, we don't really do a lot of server analysis. We all kind of just run runtimes, consider them very temporal and throw them away because they get big and the new versions come out, right? Um,
Uh-huh.
so the idea of having it on a server definitely seems cool. The way that we've combated that historically is we run multiple copies of FileMaker Pro on our Macs. So if we want to prevent taking over our machine, we'll pop open a new FileMaker Pro instance, run the DDR, but I think we use basically runtime, so it doesn't really take up a lot of our.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely have, this as the runtime on your machine and continue working in FileMaker, but you know, it
The life
it
of that may be limited, of course.
yeah. Uh, with with new features coming in the product where new skill sets are needed and complex projects that involve different kinds of again skills and talent, it is going towards more of a collaborative kind of development approach, and this is one direction I am taking, which I know I don't know what the Insight, or I can't remember the name of the other product. Um, I can't remember, but Todd and this other fellow are marketing this really performance solution. Um, it's not a collaborative solution, so you're still on your own. And so this is one area of differentiation in terms of our product, and we're going to be doing more around that in coming releases. That's one thing. The other thing that's different again. So if you compare base elements to this, base elements is not server optimized. So I'm just going to throw this up on the server. It's in Oakland. You'll see the performance of this getting up there. So I throw it up there, and it's done. Basically, I could close my laptop and go home. This up here on the far right tells me that it's processing something on the server. It's actually parsed it. Now it's completing the next step of doing some other post-processing and whatnot. If I wanted to, I could dig into another solution. This is hosted in Oakland. I'm in Cupertino. And I could go and look at something while it's processing on the server, a DDR or multiple DDRs for other people, other team members. So it's the collaborative aspects of it are very cool, and so I would definitely invite everyone to kind of explore those.
What do you
And you could even go ahead.
what do you find long term? I mean, because these things are ginormous. I
Uh-huh.
mean, from a standpoint of managing a server, that's makes me a little bit scared. How quickly do you have a 10 gig database, on the server from all your DDRs and the maintenance aspect of that?
Yeah, definitely. If you have a large group of projects, you're cranking away and you're generating a DDR every day. It's definitely going to be that you're going to need a lot of storage space. Um, one.
You guys, I mean, the question is, do you think you make one a day?
I don't. I don't do. Are you asking me or are you asking the
I'm
audience?
asking the audience. one a week. So you think you only make one a week? Is that accurate? You think? I Yeah, I certainly make more than one a week, but I mean, I could. That's probably a fairly decent metric. Two a week.
Yeah.
Two a week. You know. Well, unless you're in like some crazy project where you're purging and you're focused on some task that's really using, right, identifying errors and purging or unreferenced. So I was just curious from a standpoint of, I mean, I could see this being used because I would love to offload the duty of doing this to other people,
Uh-huh.
you know, especially on the sales side. And if I could have other people do that, there's a huge benefit of it being on the server, right? So whenever I want to look at it, you know, it's there. So I see that, but I'm also just concerned of how big it will be, you know, making backups and such, and just really,
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
you you can partition it out if you have multiple servers. You can have different copies of Inspector on different servers for different projects. So you don't have to kind of have the mega master, you know, server that has all analyses for every single project. So you can, you know, partition it out as you need. You don't need to, you know, have all the DDRs go in one place. And then, you know, once you're done with a project, you could, you know, pretty much remove it.
does it take a long time to delete as well? Because that's my experience and the other tools.
Yeah, we added truncate table, so new feature in 15.
And
So
you're
basically, if I were to do this now, right, it asks me, "Are you sure you want to remove everything?" It can't be undone, right? So
But is that at the
basically,
project
this
level or is that at the whole solution level?
it so for example, I just uploaded demo here. If I go and remove this, um, you know, it's gone, and it doesn't hamper me from going to look at something else. So that just it didn't truncate the table, but because it's on server, you know, I'm doing different things with regards to clearing out the data that's in there, um, so that you don't have to wait. So basically, it's working backwards. So it's still probably removing data on the server. Um, so truncate table will wipe everything out, so
Right.
you kind of reset it, and that's the fastest. But you know, we have done some really great things to improve performance overall. Mm.
So
So,
are you basically running scripts on the server when you hit delete?
oh yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of PSOS going on with this. The whole point of what I just did was that if you notice there, like if I go back to
Yeah,
demo,
I mean, that was extremely fast. So,
yeah. So I mean I mean I uploaded it to the server. There's a DDR. It's done. It's on the server. I could close this solution. It continues to process on server. So
sure.
that's the kind of you know
Okay.
you know feedback I have with regards to you know running it on the server. There's a few other things I want to kind of touch on before we wrap up, but any other questions?
Anybody have any other questions? I think the you know I think it's obvious, but I think the last question that I asked, just to repeat it, is from a benchmarking perspective. I think you know, running it on the server is fantastic. Uh, you can consider yourself at the same speed level as your peers when you don't do that.
Well, I haven't benchmarked right, with other products and see where we're at.
Right.
I know Perrin has done a lot of that, and he's pretty impressed with where we're at performance-wise. So yeah, definitely in a different. I mean, I guess you can't compare when it runs on server because it's you know it's whatever the machine is on server, etc. And if and when other products kind of get there to do this, and I'm not sure if they're looking to do that, whatnot. But we are also looking to run in the cloud. So you could host this on Amazon Web Services, FileMaker's cloud instance, and have it run in the cloud. So that's the next things that we're working on. So there is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the work I've done in data visualization, but we wanted to kind of take a fresh approach. And so they're not in this current release. They were in the prior release, but we're revisiting them, and we're adding some new things to them. So stay tuned for that stuff. If you want, I can show some of the data visualization things that we used to do. If people have never seen them, they're kind of interesting. But just a heads up to people who have expected them because they were there in the past. They're going to make a reappearance soon. So if you do want me to show those, I'm glad to show them. Otherwise, I can take more questions.
I think we're okay. Does anybody have any other specific questions for Vincent that?
Just a question about the data visualization. I remember when you first rolled that out, able to find patterns that maybe could interpret as far as either performance or reliability.
Kevin, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so Stephen's asking a question regarding data visualizations regarding patterns. Can you repeat the last sentence, Stephen?
Yeah. So have you found patterns that make a difference in reliability?
Have you found any patterns that make a difference in reliability or performance?
Yeah.
Or are you?
Or what?
Are they beautiful works of art?
Well, I can show you one thing that is a pattern, and you know, so let's see here. So this is, your typical script universe. This is a large system. I don't know if you're seeing that, but there's a lot of activity kind of going around there. There are different files, are different system, the different colors are different from the. Let's see here. Let me try and explain this. So every circle that you see in this visualization is a script. Every other object, if it's a downward triangle or a square, it means something different. It's a layout. If it's a square, it's like a field that references a script. Now, I could, because I'm used to this visualization, I could pick out patterns, and I could spot, a newbie developer versus a very seasoned developer. So here's a solution. It's got a high level of, inner complexity in terms of inner file, use of scripts across different files, and inside the file, a lot of reuse of code. So for example, here's a script that you definitely do not want to delete because it's got a lot of objects associated with it, et cetera, et cetera. But if I show you another example, let's see, this one, I think. So what you'll see here is a pattern of, let's say, things like this here. And I don't know if you see that zooming in. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have a button, and I attached it to a script. I have, I have another. I have a lot of buttons that don't have scripts. These are these little squares that have red inner cores in them. So you can see that there's less of those. So if you see a lot of patterns like this one here, you can kind of get a sense as to, someone wrote a script and attached it to a button and didn't think of, the reusability of the code. So looking at a picture, it does kind of explain a sense of a design style or pattern. And I can tell you after looking at many of these, they are very different from solution to solution. So they are almost like, they are kind of like a fingerprint, if you wish, of a solution. And we are exploring some other really interesting ways to look at visualizations of data that exist in the schema, and finding some interesting use cases as to why and how we would use that visualization, and that's what we're working on right now. So I hope that we will have it available in the next release. There's a lot of really exciting things we're doing in that area. So I'm really thrilled. So stay tuned. Yeah.
Just as an aside, wouldn't that be an interesting tip?
What's that?
If you had those two charts.
He was saying, wouldn't that be an interesting diff of the charts?
So yeah, two different runs.
Yeah. Yes, it would be interesting diff. However, these have like a force-directed nature to them, and so in a sense, we would have to probably statically render them to kind of get a sense without the actual moving pieces of it. So yeah, that's a possibility, definitely.
So would you consider, I think Stephen, go back to his first question of, interpreting the patterns.
Uh-huh.
And while I know building modular code is something people recommend, and there's also something to be said about having a button that goes to a script that doesn't associate itself with much besides that button. Have you, come to the view that highly complex or chart like the first one you showed was most likely a more advanced developer, and you think maybe a better solution, or you can't really interpret it to that level, right? I mean, you can't really go, hey, that was a great system, right? I mean, is this based on scripting primarily?
Yeah, you can't tell. I mean, I can't tell you that this is, a great system, and this is, this is something that In Residence built, and I have permission from Charlie to show this. But this, it's hard to tell here that it is, it's a great system. You can't tell that from here necessarily. Obviously, what you can tell from here is there's a heck of a lot of work gone into this. There's a lot of files.
A lot of script steps. Is there anything else we're looking at besides scripting? I mean, is it looking at calcs, field level, anything like that?
Yeah, we have some other visualizations where you can actually look at the dependency tree of a calculation and interact with it, such that you could see circular references. Recursion and circular references to calculations, and see how far a calculation is working in terms of outward, how much heavy lifting does a calculation have to do to return a result to the base node. And so that's a simple calculation. If we look at a much larger calculation, then you start to really appreciate kind of the big picture of wow, that's one calculation. Mind you, there's a lot of case statements, and I can zoom in to a specific node here. So that's one area of there's a case statement that wraps around all these, and you can collapse these down and interact with them. But it gives you just a sense as to how complex a calculation might be. The one challenge with this is the branch that
What's the name of the field it all stems from?
the name of the field that it all stems from is way down here, which is let's see. We're getting there.
It's not called.
Okay, that's this one.
Do not search, is it?
Base inquiries field missing process status or something like that. So I don't know how their naming convention is, but
Do you know what the data model we're looking at is about?
no, I don't. I do not know the data model.
Okay.
And these are related fields. Yeah. So we're taking a look at some of these and enhancing them a little bit better. Let's see. So there's script tree. There's another one, the script tree, which is, this one is interesting because this is one script and all the other sub branches of a script that a script could take. So all the perform scripts that it would then call. If we were to expand this out of all the steps of all the scripts that it would take, it would be huge. This is just the branching on perform script or for perform script on server or whatnot. But what's cool about this is, let's say I'm looking for, a perform script on server incompatibilities. So I have things that you'll see here. For example, if you look over here, I have some of these scripts that have steps inside them that are not server compatible. Okay, and if I collapse them down, right, now this script here has steps in it that are server compatible. All the steps in it are server compatible. But if I collapse all these other nodes down to this one, you'll see that it turned orange. That's telling me that either at that script or anywhere down the tree from that script are script steps that are server incompatible. Okay, so I have that setting up here. I could toggle it to any one of these other things. We're looking at how we could kind of narrow into a particular area where if you're having trouble with something running on a particular area like iOS or server, how you could troubleshoot that. And this is what we came up with in terms of labeling or coloring these items. So anyway, we're doing a lot of work to enhance the usefulness of these and some other really cool and exciting things that we'll be able to do in the future with data visualization. So anyway, that's where we have it right now. We have a kind of a user group special, if you wish. If you want to purchase the product, we offer you a $100 discount. Just use the code VM, like Vince Menanno, 100 when you go to the Beezwax website. So if you go to the Beezwax website, let's see here, and you go and go to products. These are my two kids, by the way, if you're all on the channel. When you buy it, just enter the code VM100 and you'll get $100 off the product. So
cool.
Yeah. If you have any other questions, feel free to channel them my way, Kevin, and I'll see to get them answered.
We will. All right. Well, we appreciate so much, Vincent, you taking the time to show your great product and the products you make for the community. But I'll give you a big round of applause for presenting. Thank you so much. And if we have any additional questions, we'll reach out and we'll post this online on the developer group YouTube, and we'll let you know when that's up. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. See you, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.